is Mark Newman, Chief Analyst at TM Forum, here on our latest Inside Out podcast. Very pleased to be joined all the way from Madrid, Dahyr Vergara, who is the head of OSS at NTT DATA. NTT DATA, for those of you who aren't aware who NTT DATA is, it's part of NTT Group. It's I see you as a professional services firm, and you're focused specifically in telecoms, I guess, Dahyr.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Thank you for introducing me, and thank you for having me here.
Pleasure. So we're going to spend the next 20 minutes, half an hour, diving into the topic of next generation OSS. I know NTT Data ran a very good session in DTW Copenhagen back in June, and we're going to run through some of the topics that we covered then. It's a very interesting, difficult, complex topic. And when we think about next-gen OSS, it seems that there's some fairly radical, revolutionary approaches being taken in terms of how we go about doing that. The question I have to ask at the start, Dahyr, is, when we talk about taking this brave, bold new approach to modernizing the OSS, what is the problem we're trying to solve for operators?
Operators have many challenges. Everybody knows about those challenges. I don't want to go too deep on every single one of them. But I guess the top two are, first of all, efficiency. So to have a set of OSS components and solutions that are cost effective, that is a very big challenge. Normally, operators struggle to have every building block of the OSS in place, and it is very complicated to integrate all of them. So I'm starting with the easy one, which is make it more efficient for operators to get the comprehensive list of OSS elements and components. Okay, but the most complicated one is, of course, to go through these autonomous networks idea or aspiration that every operator sure has. It doesn't matter if it's a neutral host or if it's a very big T1 telco. They all want to forget about the resources and keep focus on the business and on the services. So that's what a revolutionary solution should achieve. So helping operators to go beyond data-driven. We need to stop about speaking about data-driven and make it a reality. We need to stop speaking about having workflow automation and start thinking of how autonomous and how intelligent networks and services should be. Mm-hmm. So I think this is the top two things that need to be solved. Technology-wise, and of course, how to operate the network and services.
And is there a clear roadmap for telecoms operators doing this? And is it the same roadmap for every telecoms operator?
Of course, not the same for everybody. Everybody thinks that this can be handled differently. But what they all need to make sure is that they comply with customer requirements in the most efficient way. So I think the target is the same, or at least they all share the target. After that, everybody thinks that they could handle things differently. Some of them rely absolutely on a small set of vendors, and others try to do things by themselves. Okay. But at the end, I guess that by sharing the target, it makes it easier for an SI such as NTT Data to understand where they need to position themselves. Okay, so I've spoken with several of the very big T1 telcos, and also several of the for example, neutral hosts or netcos, however you want to call them. And they all consider that they need to be effortless whenever it refers to managing their resources. Okay, so I'm guessing that to give you a short answer, Mark, it will be that they all share the target, but they do not all share the ways to do it. Okay,
and I mean, you said yourself it's extremely complex, and there's a lot of legacy, and legacy is what gets in the way of all transformation programs. And so, you are clearly there working with telcos, helping telcos to do this. But you mentioned that some operators would do it on their own. But regardless of whether you do more on your own rather than bring in third-party services companies, again, are you doing the same thing, or are there different approaches to this? Is it, is it just a question of whether you bring somebody in to do it for you, or do it yourself, or are there different philosophies around this? Because it seems to me that there's a number of different interlinking elements in this discussion, and
Yes.
and to what extent are we looking at a big picture and having a strategy that brings in all the elements of that big picture rather than just incrementally going along a way without necessarily being clear where it all links together?
Yeah, I get your question, Mark. I feel like, yeah, at the end, they all look for the same. Okay. And looking for the same means at the end following the same steps, even if there are different ways. So they will need to, for example, just to state some example, they all need data. Okay, so they all need to handle massive data coming from the networks, coming from the services, coming from the devices, coming from the different kinds of elements included in the service. They all need to process that data effectively. Okay, so they all need to cost-effective ways to handle that data and store it and be able to make decisions about that. They all need, for example, ways to orchestrate actions that relate to the service management or the resource management, and also to help the customer achieve their goals. And they all need, at the end, to simplify the decision making, which is, without saying it, we are speaking about AI implicitly, because all of them need to somehow start making smart use of the normal intelligence before, and then artificial intelligence, let's say. But without the previous steps, it's not possible. So they all need to follow these steps very high level, okay? And at the end, they need to make it work for themselves. So for their own use cases, for their own situations, for their own market target, for their own customer needs.
And so we talked about data, and this issue around a new data architecture is obviously essential to this discussion. And my impression of this is that operators were on their way towards building new data architectures. They have been for the last 5-10 years, but I think with the greater ambitions now around autonomous networks, use of AI, those requirements are kind of changing, becoming more ambitious in a way, but it's becoming more difficult. And
Yeah.
we used to talk before about data lakes and data warehouses. Now we talk about data mesh and data fabric. So it's constantly evolving what we need to do in terms of our data architecture. I mean, again, do you sense where are we in that discussion, and are telcos making the progress they need to make?
Yeah, that's a fantastic approach that you depicted, and helps me a lot with stating that such digital architecture. The first image that comes to my mind is everybody needs to do their job. So it's like not a single or monolithic architecture. Network needs to change. Services need people providing the services need to change. The way to observe or observability around the services also and networks needs to also change, and they all need to be digital. In order to achieve that, they all need to basically be based on data, on the data that is flowing. The data is like the blood of this whole complex system. It's like a human, a human is a mix of systems at the end. So the telecommunications industry is something similar. So we need to have a healthy, robust, and intelligent network. We need to have a healthy, robust, and intelligent set of systems, and we need to have the same for even marketing or whatever aspect of the network you want to. We can go through all the operational map here. But basically, what we need to have is all these systems need to be have some level of autonomy. They need to have all some level of intelligence, so that everything can work in the right way. Since operators are having struggles with commercials, the margins, or being able to monetize or create more services, we at NTT Data think that these aspects needs to be included in every part of the system. For example, if you consider an intelligent network, okay, is not and if you have a network that can be given instructions or cannot be given can be infused with intelligence, then it doesn't matter if you have the most smart or the smartest of all the systems. You cannot make it work for that non-intelligent network, let's say. Okay, so there needs to be a coherence between all those systems. Okay.
Yeah, and I guess what's interesting is that while autonomous networks sound something quite specific within the organization that a lot of people may not be aware of is taking place, when it comes to data governance, this is a responsibility of many teams throughout the whole organization. And
Yeah.
so it's a constant challenge, isn't it? I guess making sure that we take a standard uniform approach towards data, and that data governance is firm and robust and adhered to. But I mean, from your work with operators, do you sense that we're making good progress in terms of access to the data and the quality of the data?
I think so. There are of course things done right and there are things done wrong. Okay. But in my experience, every time we've done it wrong, it's because we didn't need it. So in many cases, we try to go and have, I don't know, infusing machine learning into one specific process. So maybe somebody said, let's put machine learning there. So, and it was not that needed. The business was not requesting that, So that's where we went wrong. So maybe there is people is getting worried that investments do not go to the right place. But there are things that we did right. Okay. For example, I'm seeing a very good example whenever I see how some operators, not all of them, but some of them, have advanced in getting diagnostics. Okay, diagnostics is mostly rules engines. Okay, or rules, basically a lot of rules that you put somewhere, and then that system is able to make very small, very specific decisions. But that is normally done right. So that is normally something that you can use, okay, and you can expand to other services if you are using that as part of your operation. So I guess that having the business as your target, having the actual customer needs, having a clear view on that, which is very much into the entity data's DNA. It's the right way to do it. It's going to be the same for AI. So now we have like a hype for AI. Everybody wants to do everything with AI, and there will be fails for sure. There will be fails, but there will be also wins, and the wins in this case are going to be huge because of the learnings of the past things. Take into consideration, for example, also workflow automation. So several operators have successful workflow automations. Okay, so that thinking needs the same way that we change our thought process to create orchestrated workflows. Now it is the same. We need to again change the mindset to automation through AI. So there are advances. I think the biggest one is that people is getting to understand that. And I think I have seen operators having more data, more precise data. And of course, I know it looks like I'm skipping the governance part that you said, Mark, but I'm not. I'm putting that implicitly. The governance is a consequence. So because we need that, we don't create governments. This governance is created because we need to have that data and the data to be good for the operation for sure.
So when I talked before about having a grand vision rather than looking at trends and transformations independently. the types of themes, initiatives I was thinking about within that are clearly network automation, autonomous networks, network monetization, network APIs, Open RAN. I mean, do these all represent part of the same strategy? And to what extent, when you embark on your next gen OSS, does this all come together?
Every SI will relate to what I'm going to say. We are an SI, we're a systems integrator.
Yeah.
So for us, everything is connected. So because we are the connectors, we are the ones that make systems go talk to each other. So I guess that some operators might say, okay, I have my Open RAN self-contained a strategy. It's only for the generational change, so they can say that, and that will be true. But for an SI such as NTT Data, it's all part of the same. And the reason for that is if we go and change the generation and we don't get a hold on the benefits, we are losing money. We are losing our chance to generate value, not only to the company itself, not only to the business itself, but also to the end user. Will be affected negatively if we don't see it that way. For taking into consideration one example, if we go and put all our Open RAN deployment, we change everything to Open RAN. Let's say nobody's doing that, but some operators are going there, but step by step. So let's say that we nowadays have a full Open RAN setup, okay? And I don't use the non-real-time rig or the near real-time rig to automate, the deployment and operations of the network. Imagine that you invested on having that technology, and you will not be using that. So for us, it's part of the same. So networks should be autonomous. So if we deploy Open RAN, it needs to be you need to consider also that. Otherwise, you're going to feel like you change the network, so it's working best because it's new, but it's not being better for the overall ecosystem of the telecom industry. Okay, for example, another point that is very I criticize so much this. If we go there and we don't think about sustainability in Open RAN, we are losing our spot. We are losing our chance. Our chance, sorry, to be sustainable. We're losing our chance to make it work, to be more efficient and save the planet, basically. So then what can we say that can be done afterwards if we don't use these intelligent, ready kinds of solutions?
Yeah. If we just briefly talk about the AI requirements, am I right in thinking that today the use of Gen AI in the network, our current thinking is that it has limited relevance to this discussion. Would you agree with that?
I do not agree, but I can relate to the comment. Okay, and the reason for that is it depends on where you want to use it. One key learning that we've had in NTT Data is that maybe some of the promises that Gen AI has for the market are not there yet. Okay, but some others are very well established and can be used right away. In my view, it can hit the most costly or the thing that costs the most in the network, which is operation. So they do operations.
Yeah.
So if you can make it more efficient, let's say 2, 3, 5%, okay, of your operation in a network operation centers or in a service operation center is huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
It's so big. But no, maybe we are still, and this is good. I'm not criticizing this, but maybe we are just exploring. Okay, yes. And we want to play with automated designs, and I want to play with with Copilot, which is also actually a very good case. But what I feel, and we at NTT Data are already doing that is more effective is in data operations. Having assistants, small assistants. We don't need people 2.0. No, we don't have people 2.0. There is not a person. Okay, but we have some set of things that can be done more efficiently by AI. And Also, as I said before, taking into consideration previous learnings. Maybe we need to mix workflow automation with Gen AI automation. That mix is very powerful, and we have seen that already working in our customers.
Mm-hmm. But you did specifically say Gen AI in network operations rather than, I guess, in the network itself, and I guess there's a difference.
Oh, yeah, there is a difference there. Yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah.
true. So if you say in the network itself, well, it might be, well, it is true, but it's somehow can be one thing related to the other. Okay. For example, taking into consideration into the network, you have a component which is the non-real-time rig. Okay, from OpenRun.
Yeah.
In the non-real-time rig, you can power that with Gen AI. And
Yeah.
since this is again workflow automation also powers this up, you can include generative AI features into that. Remember that generative AI is not only speech analytics. Also, you can consider, for example, images. For example, consider the case where you need to know if an image represents a right deployment of a site.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that is also Gen AI. So you can use Gen AI to determine if you have a problem in one of your sites. So again, I guess that what I'm trying to say is if we try to not find the specific or the comprehensive human interaction, okay, it's going to be effective. If you try to go there, you will feel like disappointed. It's
Yes.
not a human there, at least not yet. We don't know tomorrow, but nowadays it's not a human, but it can do some of the things that we rely on humans more effectively and of
Yeah.
course a lot quicker.
Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting. Okay. And we're talking about next gen OSS, and traditionally, when we thought about the telecoms industry, we think BSS, OSS, and network. So when we have these discussions about next gen OSS, when you work with the operators, is it your impression that there is sufficient proximity and cooperation between the network side of the business? And I don't just mean within the operator, also in the vendor community as well, in order to realize this vision of autonomous networks? Are all players in the ecosystem working towards a common goal? They all see things in the same way.
I think they comply that they need to be more efficient. Okay, all of them comply with that, but they all do things differently. So
Yeah.
if you ask, for example, the network team, they will say, okay, what I need is to be quick whenever finding problems. I need to be quick whenever diagnosing problems. So their world is the problems, And if you go up
Yeah.
in the stack, you will see I need to take care of my customer in the most efficient way possible, without considering the resources involved. Okay, so the resources need to provide something to me, which is a given, and then I need to worry about the customer. So there is, I think, there needs to be, and I think this next gen OSS or the principles under the next gen OSS will help on this, because at the end of the day, it intends for everybody to have the same source of truth. Okay, so as I said in the whole conversation several times, data is key. So having the right data, what is my my base station topology? What is my fiber network topology? And what are the services that are on top of that? And how am I responding to the customer
Yeah.
with all these resources? So I think the more the customers have these principles inside their networks, it doesn't have to be our solution, but we can help, of course, operators on finding that with even other solutions, because we are an SI again. We can work with other platforms. Of course, our next gen OSS has that as a base. Basically, it's a single way to handle all this data in a way that is useful for the end-to-end business, okay, and of course to the end user, which is the most important part.
Yeah.
So if you put a base station and say that in the as part of the topology, and it doesn't reflect in the overall service and at the end of in the product of the customer, it doesn't make sense to have it, or maybe it doesn't make sense to have all the information about that.
Yeah.
So of course, this next gen OSS or the principles under next gen OSS are critical to have this match between all the levels of the company.
Yeah. Thanks. And so lastly, Dahyr, I'm sure you're familiar with levels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of network automation as part of the TM Forum initiative. And many operators are committing to level 4. Industry today is probably level 1 to level 2. How realistic do you think it is that operators can get to level 4 within the next 2-3 years?
Yeah, Mark, you are making so many good questions. So I think operators need to prioritize. Okay, so it is realistic, but there needs to be a commitment. Okay, so that commitment cannot be I'm gonna be like all the products, all the services, taking into consideration that of course some services and resources are gonna be deprecated in 10 years or whatever. So maybe it doesn't make sense. So they need to sincere the speech and say, okay, without considering this technology or this kind of service, okay, I'm going to achieve level 4. And then they will have enough, first of all, investment, sponsorship, technologies. The team is going to be like very focused. But if you say, I'm going to go with a very legacy, I don't want to speak about technologies or vendors or whatever, but if you have this very big old legacy, network, let's consider an element on the periodic table. You know what I mean? And I'm going to take that to level 4. Why are you doing that? That's not needed. Okay, so if operators go there and make a sincere assessment, we can also help them for sure. but if they can sincere themselves on where it makes sense to go level 4, okay, they will hit level 5. That's my feeling.
Maybe the subtext what you're saying here is that maybe operators need to be more focused in terms of where they aspire to 3, 4, 5 and where they don't, and maybe it's having to make choices.
Yes, yeah, and not only technology wise, also partner wise. Some partners are not ready to take you there, and I'm not saying talking about my competitors. I'm not saying about SIs. Maybe the one that provides your network operation center is not ready to go there. And maybe you need to wait even a couple of years to even start on that aspect. But you are right, Mark.
Maybe the challenge with that prioritization is the fact that when we move towards next gen OSS, it can bring so many different types of benefits to the business in terms of customer experience, efficiency, productivity, new revenues. And so you need to understand what your objectives are before you prioritize. And that, I guess, is a challenge because OSS is this little corner of the telco business that aren't meant to have great visions about what technology can do. They're just... So that's the challenge the business has, which is to elevate this discussion into a genuine business discussion.
Mark, you are right, and even whenever I go to customers' office, I always get with these strategic statements, vision, mission, whatever. They have that. they see that. They can see that every day entering into their companies. The only thing that they need to do is to put that to ground. Okay?
Exactly.
What you're saying. Put it to ground and then decide.
Well, that's what people often say. The problem with our industry is that you have a lot of people who are too close to the discussions and then people who are too far away. And you need to find a way of bringing this vision down, closer to the network, closer to OSS. So you're specific about what you're trying to achieve. And you can measure your success, I guess, as well. Now, here, carry on. I'll let you finish.
No. Just to add to your comment that it looks complicated what you just said. It isn't that hard. Sometimes you don't even need materials to start with that. You maybe do a sincere initial conversation around that, and then you do the heavy load on going to the documents and all that.
Yeah. Well, Dahyr, thank you so much for your time. I've learned a lot. So good luck with your endeavors at NTT Data, and we'll speak soon.
Awesome questions, Mark. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye.